Welcome to another episode of the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast, your source for actionable real-life examples and advice to help you move to the next level of investing. Each week, we help you make a quantum leap in your business, your finances, and/or your life. We want to help you take back control, help you thrive during chaos, and lead you through the current crisis to a better tomorrow. For more resources, check out smartrealestatecoach.com and be sure to give us a rating and review on your favorite platform.
Good morning, wicked smart listeners. Today we're going to bring you another FamilyCast. Instead of a standard master's class, we have not done a FamilyCast in a while. FamilyCast, if you're new to the show especially, and a reminder for those of you that have been hanging out with me for 500 plus episodes, FamilyCast is usually someone on our family team or someone in the family or one of the community members, because we do consider everybody family. So today's no different. This FamilyCast, I'm going to be bringing on David Albin. Now, Dave's got a very, very interesting background. I love this interview because so many people say, well, I'm busy and I got this going on, I got that going on. Can I actually do this? And just a reminder that 98%, if not 100% of the people that come to our community to learn how to do this and to learn the skill set and to sometimes exit their W-2, escape their W-2, they're busy. They got life going on. They got jobs going on. They got 12-hour, 14-hour work days. Some people have 180 employees. It's been crazy. Now, Dave's no different. He's got a military service and corporate accounting background. He's got 26 years in the Air Force and the Missouri Air National Guard. And he sort of honed his leadership and his dedication before he actually transitioned to a 25-year career as a corporate accountant. Now, he's a corporate accountant in leasing and real estate development, which lends a very interesting twist here. His expertise in the financial management and property investment has been literally sort of his foundation. In 2023, he joined the Wicked Smart community, and I'm going to have him talk about that, why he did it, how the transition's been, and how dealing with this has been. Because again, he's got life and a job going on. And it's funny, I get asked a lot in strategy calls with some of you. You'll go, how fast can I do a deal? And how many deals are the community doing? And I always say, it doesn't matter what they're doing. In David's case, he's super busy. He just popped his first deal recently, and he's happy with that. Others come in and they go, look, I got to start doing deals in 90 days, and I have the skill set to do so. Everyone is different. Your experience will be what you want it to be and what your discipline dedication is, and then we'll help you pull it off. In this case, we're going to hear from Dave and how he pulled it off. Now, interesting, this is coming to you live on Wednesday the 16th. We are literally, while you're listening to this, we are finishing up our In the Trenches boot camp right now. Before we bring David on, I want to talk about this. The In the Trenches boot camp is two and a quarter days, and it's in our office right here with me, my son-in-law and partner, Zach, my son and partner, Nick, and one or two of the coaches are always here. And that might not sound like a lot if you're at a big event, but this is in our conference room with 10 or 12 of you. Now, it is by far, I keep saying this, the most effective thing we've done as a company in the last 12 years. It's the most effective thing I've ever seen in the industry, and I'm on my 34th year. You've got to check it out, guys, plain and simple. Go to smartrealestatecoach.com/ITTB podcast. That's it. You'll learn more about it. Now, you don't have to buy it. It's free with every single experience level in the company, but I want you to see the page so you can understand what the heck's going on. Now, most people that come in are either already at one of the associate levels or they're in the apprentice program. And again, then it's free. So if you want to look at becoming an apprentice, it's ridiculously dirt cheap. Go to smartrealestatecoach.com/apprentice podcast. All right, Nick, welcome to the show. For those listening and not seeing us on YouTube, you should get your butt over to YouTube and you should subscribe to the channel. But if you're not, you're going to be listening to myself and Nick and Dave Albin. Dave, little background. I mean, I did the intro short on purpose. Bring us to the 2023 point, because obviously with the background I just gave, they have that sense. But why the change? When did you start thinking of change? And had you ever started thinking about change before then? Because I honestly don't know those answers.
Yeah, actually, I did think about real estate. I wanted to do real estate like early 2000s. But just never found an opportunity to dive in, money-wise, mentor-wise, just never had the opportunity or never discovered the opportunity, I guess. So
I'm curious now, sorry, I'm curious whether it was like you felt like it was going to be another job back then. So you didn't do it, or maybe you felt like, oh, I got to invest all kinds of money, like most people think they do. What was that, both? Or?
It was a little bit of both, but probably more had to invest the money that I didn't have, particularly because we started family later. So we were only at the early 2000s. We had two kids that were only like under 10 years old. So
Yeah.
the money factor was the biggest probably thing about that.
Yeah, they kind of cost a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. The reason I wanted Nick on, we're going to jump to your deal in a little bit here. And as I said in the intro, everybody approaches this different, and everybody has different goals. So I said on purpose, I don't want people to compare themselves to you or anyone else. It's their goals, right? But talk a little bit about, you came in the community and you kept, obviously, you have your job. So what does your regular life schedule look like, and how do you fit this in? Because that's by far the biggest question we get. Oh, I don't know if I could have time, right?
Right. It's a challenge. My job is, I work 40 hours a week, 4 days in the office, for 8 hours a day. And then I come home, at the beginning, I was doing 8 to 5. And so, yeah, you get into that routine. And I struggled at the very beginning because coming home after a long day, eating dinner, and then sitting down to make phone calls, mentally, I was just exhausted. So,
yeah.
I got an opportunity. Luckily, they were offering a flex schedule, which they had never done for us before. And so I jumped on it and switched to 6 to 3 in the afternoon. So I could come in right after work. So I usually I get home about 3:30 in the afternoon. I sit down and get ready. And I make my dials between 4 and 5, and then eat dinner with the family. And then if I need to do any cleanup or some extra work at night, then I just go into that, versus having to make calls at that time later. It just didn't feel right to me. So,
yeah, no, I love it because the time's a sweet spot. Okay. So what's the ultimate for you then? What is the ultimate to escape the W-2? What does that look like for you? And then we'll dive into your deal.
The ultimate started out to be filling the retirement buckets, because I feel like I'm behind on that aspect. And so I wanted to earn money to fill up that aspect. But as we got going, started in the first 6 months, I realized this would be a good escape from the W-2 as well. So kind of a secondary thing. I would like to do that as well.
So started off as mentally a supplemental, and then said, okay, wow, I see the bigger picture, which a lot of people do, right? They get in the community and go, oh, this is cool. I can do better than I thought.
Yeah.
Which is what we scream about all the time. But for some reason, until people come in the community and get in Slack and meet us, they go, oh yeah, that's what they said. Right.
Right.
And Nick, feel free to chime in before we get to the deal, of course, if you think of something I'm not asking. But talk about the community a little bit, Dave. Let's picture this. You're talking to wicked smart listeners. Some are, maybe your podcast is the first they heard, but others have been listening to 500 episodes, right? We've been at this for years. So talk to them about what it's like inside the community, maybe from the standpoint of maybe what you didn't know, right? Until you get in. I don't know, whatever from the heart, like what's going on in the community that strikes you.
Right. The first aspect when I went to the QLS Live in 23 was the camaraderie between everybody and the willingness to help. Everybody is willing to help no matter what level they are at, high-end level all the way down to beginner. Everybody's willing to pitch in and try and figure it out. So it was kind of like, to me, it was kind of like the military part of it. Like, yeah, I had that camaraderie and I was missing that. And so that's for those, 2000 years where I wanted to get into real estate, I didn't have that. So that was really intrigued me. I like that aspect of it. So, and then once you get in the community, you start talking and people will tell you that, they don't sugarcoat it. It's, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that and why. So that's always helpful too, to gain that knowledge to feel more comfortable doing deals and everything.
No, I love it. So you've been because you went to Boston 24, right? That event?
Yes, I was in Boston.
2 events. We got an event coming up in October. I know I keep saying, Nick, I'm going to transition to the deal, but I'm going to in a minute. But Dave's giving these answers, and I want to make sure we have closure on these. So, Dave, you went to Rhode Island QLS Live in 23, and then Boston 24 QLS Live, and now we have Boston 25 coming up. Again, because that's totally different than a Zoom weekly. It's totally different than a boot camp that you've been to here. So I'm going to ask you your opinion on what your experience was with the QLS Live events, because you've been at 2.
Yep.
Again, talking to them, like they're probably in their head going, well, yeah, why should I go? It's another event. And then if you could transition to the small private event, the In the Trenches boot camp here, and then I think we officially can go to your deal.
Okay. Yeah, QLS Live. Rhode Island was unique. I kind of liked it because everybody was at the same hotel and everybody kind of hung out after the event, even though we spent all day with each other. We still, went out and went to dinner and hung out afterwards, and we got to know people better that way. That was pretty awesome. I really liked that as well. Boston was unique. We tried different. We didn't have that exactly hanging out afterwards like we had in Rhode Island, so that was different, but the setup was good. The speakers were awesome at both events actually, but I did like the speakers in the Boston event as well. So
awesome. Yeah, well, give us that. Talk about the In the Trenches, because let me define it for him, then I'll give him a link actually. smartrealestatecoach.com/ITTB podcast. Dave, because I want them to understand the In the Trenches boot camps, like me, Nick, Zach, and a coach, in this case it was Rick with you, hanging out in the conference room. It's not a big public event, right? So just talk about that a little bit.
Right. It was as a closed group. Ours was I went in December of 24. So ours was a little bit smaller, I think, than the normal group. I think we had 12 total, but it's not the same group. You got from beginners, brand new, not even in the community, all the way up to high sixes and above that come in, and we all get together and work through. We do the calls, or we listen to the calls. That's very helpful because you're right there, watching the coach or you or whoever's doing the call, and how it transforms how it goes. So it helps. And then after that, you work through the deals with anyone's that we need to work on. So that was also cool as well.
Yeah, people leave with deals now, which I don't know how much you can't get much better than that. And just for the Wicked Smile, let's let them know the boot camp is free. When I try to sell you something, it's free with every single experience level that we have in the company, from apprentice on up. So honestly, I'm going to be blunt and say you need to get to this. It'll be a game changer for you. Yes, we want you at QLS Live. Go to QLSLive.com. You'll see the big picture. But these In the Trenches, you're going to leave with deals. So, Nick, before we transition to the deal, is there anything I didn't ask Dave about sort of the journey that came to mind, or you think we're good to transition?
No, I think you hit everything. My involvement with Mr. Albin here comes more, and all of our associates come more after you get your takens, really helping you with that process. So, no, I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, and just for them to know, Nick, a little context, because again, I always assume everybody's been listening to us since day one. It's just not reality. So Nick has been with me since literally November of 14. I remember exactly how that took place. I was just getting overwhelmed by buyers, and he was a licensed realtor at the time. And I said, can you just help me with some marketing? That's how it started. And now Nick has transitioned to helping all the coaches help all the community members do their deals more buyer focused, laser focused on the buyer process. He's done it thousands of times, talked to thousands of buyers, and actually has a very integral part in that.
And especially, Dad, just you made me think of things, especially with the high six. So with the high six and President's Club members, I jump in and we take over, for lack of a better term, and really jump in the trenches and help you get the deal done, get it closed.
Yeah, it's key, because everybody's biggest question, I want to hear Dave's opinion on this, is, but what if you can't sell it, right? Everybody's question. So Dave, let's go to your deal. What kind of deal was it? Like, what's the source, and when did you first call them? Just, you can give rough ideas.
Yeah, it was an expired listing. I believe it was end of July of 24 when I first called the seller. At that time, we were trying to figure out, she was open to owner financing or at least purchase, but she had a mortgage on it. She had an interest-only loan because she moved for her job and she wanted to buy a place at her new location. So she got an interest-only loan on this house to buy the other house. So at first we were trying to do the pre-release with it, but we couldn't get the mortgage banker wouldn't go for that. He said it was not an option.
All right, let me explain for the listener. So if I remember this deal, if we did it on the sit down recently, there was a blanket mortgage in both houses, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to try to get a partial release, and they couldn't. Just for the Wicked Smart listener who might not be sort of as advanced in their tracking. Go ahead.
Right. So we decided. So she had until February of 25 to get that paid off. It was a year-long interest-only loan. So in August, when we met with her, or I met with her and viewed the property, she had just put a renter in there. So she wanted to see about doing rentals. So I told her, I said, well, let's get back at the end of the year and see what steps you're planning on taking, because she'd have to do something by February or lose the house. So I contacted her right after the new year. And at that time, the renters had just moved out. They decided they didn't want to rent anymore. So now, at that point, she'd already made the decision to go ahead and pay off the house with her 401k. When I talked to her, she'd already made one part, like she paid half of it. And so she went ahead and did the other half in January after I talked with her. So then we were trying to go with the owner financing option, and she was okay with it, but she wasn't in love with it. So, since she had done the rentals and she said she needed some money up front, I went ahead and kind of pivoted to the AO, and then she really liked that with the 2-year option versus the 10-year.
Okay, so let me recap again for these guys. Short of them going to the QLS home study course, I'll try to be very broad here. And by the way, every time I mention something, I'll give you the link. The QLS home study course is just smartrealestatecoach.com/QLS podcast, guys. If you haven't in the course, I don't know why you wouldn't be it's our basic course, like it's our foundation. When we have an event, Nick, if you remember back when we started the events in 16, 17, 18, I used to say, don't comment if you didn't go through the course, because you're going to feel like you got to drink a fire or you're going to be lost. So those of you that don't understand what Dave just said, maybe, Dave wanted to do owner financing. Good. Free and clear house, no money down, maybe, longer terms. And this woman was used to, or had the mindset of a renter, number one. Number two, wanted some money down. Number three, wanted a shorter term. Those three things scream to utilize our backup strategy, which is an AO, a sign out is what it means. It means we procure the exact same buyer, and then we take that buyer package that Nick and Dave would design, and we assign that buyer package back to the seller. That's an AO.
So I think we're talking a lot of inside baseball. We might need an episode just to define all the terms within the community.
That might be good. Put it on the list. We'll bring Dave back.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Dave. So she agreed to the AO.
Yeah.
You took it under agreement, and then how long did it take you and Nick to actually find the buyer you ended up accepting? Either one of you guys can comment, or you can banter back and forth. I'll let you guys do this. And then any nuances in that whole process, what you learned, like Nick, things just you guys talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So she signed the agreement on the 28th of January, and then we launched it on the 29th, I believe, everywhere. And inquiries started flying in pretty quick, pretty hot and heavy for the first 3 or 4 weeks. I'm talking 20 to 30 a day, probably.
Okay, so that answers the question everybody asks, but what if you can't sell? If you didn't sell this, would it have cost you anything but besides time? Like, in other words, you didn't have to perform, right? I want to make sure everybody understands that.
Correct. Part of the agreement was we just had a marketing period. I believe it was 4 months, I think is what we agreed upon.
Good.
And so, yeah, if it didn't get sold in that 4 months, it would have just basically reverted back to the owner, which, I never left the owner in the first place, but.
You would have been out of the picture, yeah.
I would have been out of the picture. I would have been out of time, basically, yeah.
Okay, who wants to be the next apprentice? Pretty interesting, guys. We started this apprentice program back as a July 4th, 2024 promo. That's where it started. And it was so incredibly effective. We were just going to run it for the summer. It was so effective immediately. We kept it. It's in place now. And what is it? It allows you to get into the community, the Wicked Smart community, for less dollars than the QLS home study course sells for right now on our site. In fact, when you go to smartrealestatecoach.com/apprentice-pod, apprentice-pod, when you go there, you're going to see that as an apprentice, you're going to get over $13,000 worth of coaching, the possibility for you to touch base with us if you want to 4 or 5 times a week. And it doesn't exist anywhere out there, frankly. That's why we did it. We did it for 2 reasons. One, no one is giving you the support out there. We keep hearing feedback, which is how this was born, that other educators are not giving support. They're just selling stuff. So it doesn't exist anywhere, and nowhere in the real estate education or coaching space. And we want to help you do one thing, deals. So we've wrapped the support mechanism around this. We've allowed you to get into a Slack community with the other associates who previously were protected in Slack, and now you get to jump in there and experience that for 12 weeks. You also get to come to the In the Trenches boot camp, which is private. It's a chance to hang out with the family team and one of the coaches for 2.25 days in our conference room, roll up our sleeves, get calls done, get deals done. If you come with leads, you leave with deals. Absolutely incredible. I could go on and on. Go to the website right now, check out more information about the apprentice, and I'm going to give you the In the Trenches bootcamp site, because you don't have to become an apprentice. It just happens to be free with apprentice and associate. So 2 links I'm going to give you, super important. smartrealestatecoach.com/ITTB-pod. That's going to give you some information about the bootcamp. If you want to buy a ticket to the bootcamp, it's more expensive, but you can. Just to come check us out. About 1 or 2 people every time we run it do just that. Or become an apprentice, and it's for free. smartrealestatecoach.com/apprentice-pod.
Okay, so you had that window, and then you and Nick got some, what we call internally, the next step forms, which, for lack of a better term, is like an application from them. It's just helpful to us.
Right.
How many of those did you guys field? And then what was the time period where we accepted the buyer from when you put on an agreement?
I think I ended up with 7 total. The first 2 weeks we didn't get any. We had a lot of people going to see the property, but they weren't filling out the form. And then all of a sudden they just started flowing in pretty quickly. I think we ended up with 6 or 7. And this buyer was one of the first ones, I believe, Nick, like first or second one in that submitted their application. And then once we had the buyer's meeting, which was a week after that, I think we accepted them. They were pretty good, so we went ahead and accepted them. So
Yeah, and just a couple things about this that I remembered in this deal, Dave. The lack of, or the people that were filling out. So it's about right that you get anywhere from 7 to 10. It's no set thing, of course, but 7 to 10 next step forms before you like weed through and find a good buyer that you consider accepting. So that in this case, that's exactly what happened. And because we have had experience, Dave and I had experience with what the market was bearing, meaning that everyone else that submitted their next step forms didn't have much of a down payment. And even after speaking with them, it was a struggle to get people up to 3%. That's why when this one stepped forward and said that they wanted to use money from their 401k, and it was $26,000 in total, we jumped at the opportunity. So if you just want to talk about that and the nuances involved in that and accessing money from the 401k and things you learned about that.
Yeah, real quick on that while you're up. Just address its summary form. So Dave gets all these calls, right? Because we always say 80% of the buyers out there can't afford a home, can't qualify, but it doesn't mean all 80% are good, right? All of them are not good, the buyers. So talk for a minute about our process, and then Dave can comment on what he hears you say, because he lived it, for sifting those buyers and just how that process looks for the new person.
10,000 foot view. Great point. Let me drill down on that. 10,000 foot view. Everyone that inquires, you say, hey, this home, thanks for inquiring. This home's available through a rent-to-own program. Our rent-to-own program, it's not a great fit for everyone. So first, before we get you into the home for a viewing, we want to make sure that you get a chance to see our website. Have you get a chance to look at that yet? And the answer is usually no, 95% of the time. And you give them the website and say, great, when you're there, have a look at the video that we have right on the homepage that goes over how our rent-to-own program works And if it is something you're still looking to do, just give me a call back and we'll get you in there for a viewing. So the number of calls that come in, the ones that call back after following your instructions are less. That call back and say they want to see the property. And say, for instance, 20 people call back and say they want to see the property. Well, you set up viewings with all 20 of those people, but I mean, you'd be lucky if 15 or 17 of those 20 do make it over there, actually, because life happens to people and are able to check it out. So out of that, after they view it, we instruct them, if you're interested in taking the next step in the home, fill out the forms and get them back to us. And that's what Dave is talking about. We kind of skipped ahead, but that's what Dave's talking about when he said we got 7 next step forms back. So we've already had the chance to weed through and test the market, test the temperature of the quality of buyer out there, because each property is different and the level of down payment that we can get for a given property is different. So this property, 10% down, was $36,000. So we were struggling with having people meet the bare minimum, the 3%. So when this next step form came in that said they had $26,000 in the 401k, Dave and I jumped all over it.
Awesome.
Yep.
So Dave, Nick mentioned 26. Is it 26 or 30 total? 26 is up front. It's 30 total?
30 total. Yep. 26 up front. Well, they didn't write that on their form. That was just, that's an additional payment that's coming up in a year. And that's like free money, because they didn't anticipate that they were going to do that. But that's not only increasing their chances of being able to get their own loan, but that's increasing Dave's cash flow on this too. He's getting more money from the property.
Dave, do you utilize, I'm thinking through this process here you and Nick went through, and it's brand new for you. Do you utilize, remind me, REI BlackBook in the related website, or do you have something else you use?
No, I use BlackBook.
Okay, so let me drop that link for them. So smartrealestatecoach.com/REIBB-pod for podcast. Here's why, guys. We used to have community members buy a website, 4, 6, 10 grand sometimes, Nick, right?
Yeah.
Now the CRM with REI BlackBook, with all the customized workflows and all the things we do internally with Wicked Smart, now are built in there, and the website and the done for you videos and everything. It's just like a no-brainer. So, Dave, you're into this now. Tell us kind of how you were living it. Nick spits that out like, he does it in his sleep now, but you went through this. Any lessons that the Wicked Smart listeners should know, or just to let them know that it's okay. Like we got you,
Right, exactly. Nick's done it so many times. It is like second nature to him. So for me, it was my very first take. Well, my second take-in, but really the first one that had a lot of activity going. So I, initially when everything, it just felt like I was drowning initially, because I didn't have anything set up, like how to call it back, how to do the Facebook inquiries, how to send all that. So I was working through that process on the fly, basically. Well, I noticed after about a week, I had everything worded out the way I liked it, the way I thought it sounded great. And then so it was from there, it was just a matter of, I kept a Word document with the scripts in it, and I was just copying and pasting basically to wherever platform or email or whatever I needed to do for the initial. And then you, after you go through that, then you start getting the callbacks and you start talking to them and you start working through that process. And so for me, every level was just like a new nervousness, because I'd never done it before. But
yeah,
now that I've gone through the whole process, and Nick's fielded so many phone calls from me that I was like, hey, what about this? What are we doing? And he's like, no, just he's keeping me straight and narrow, which is awesome, which is what I needed. And I felt much better after talking with Nick on almost everything. So
that's awesome. Now that's the whole support system, right? You alluded to that.
Well, it's funny, Dave. I'm just starting that process with people. Like, hey, I had people like other associates in the community, the level of support. I'm just starting that process with them. That, hey, I had a few calls on my property information line. I told them to check out my website. What do I do when I call back? So it's exciting. We're starting that process again with people.
Yeah, I said, Nick, you got
a few new take-ins. Sorry, Dave, what?
As I said, Nick's probably done this a 1,000 times. He knows that we're going to freak out right off the bat.
Yeah. And the community had a few more take-ins this week. So, Nick, between you and the coaches, I think you'll be a little busy. Dave, tell me mentally how it is, because this is different for everybody. Now that you've seen a 26 grand come to the check come to the closing table, right? It happened. It's been fun to like that whole thing happened. Do you feel any different? I didn't ask you this since last week's closing. Do you feel any differently on the phone, like confidence-wise, day-to-day? Like, just talk about that. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, the confidence level, I do feel much more relaxed when speaking on the phone and everything, because we've been through the process. And when I'm talking to people about how the process goes, if we need to, I'm like, I understand it now. So where before I didn't really understand it completely. So I seemed not imposter syndrome, but just unsure of myself. Like, is this the right, or am I saying the right things? So I've noticed now that it's a lot more confident, a lot more relaxed about talking on the phone about the process. So
that's awesome. And do you currently have more take-ins? We should define take-in, that we did it again. A take-in is nothing more than, for the listeners, a property that we put under agreement. We call that a take-in. And then we put a buyer in the home. We call that a sold after it's funded. Do you have another take-in now you're on the market with, or what's your inventory look like right now?
I do. I have another take-in. It's been the exact opposite of the first one, which was the second take-in, but the first.
Yeah, this was your first one though. The one that hadn't sold.
Well, second take-in, but the first one sold. Correct.
So we need to, I think you heard me say this on a high 6 call. We need to get you up to, Nick and I used to always do this with our own inventory. You want to get yourself up to like 3 to 5, 3 to 6 properties on the market, so you're popping one a month. Even up to 8 eventually. Like, let's just get after it. No pressure. You can, with all the listeners globally listening to, commit to getting more takers. Dave and/or Nick, any other nuances here that we could share that might be a good nugget or two that I didn't ask about for the listener?
Sure. I know we don't have time to go too in depth on this, but just because Dave was able to, as a high 6 member, Dave, you were able to kind of utilize us as far as our support, like Sue and myself and the whole team here. How easy was it navigating when they were accessing money through their 401k, the buyers? Because most people would freak out about that. Like, how do I do that?
Yeah. I was in that camp as well. Yeah, you and Sue made it super easy. Probably, I was thinking at the time maybe too easy because I wanted to learn how to do that. But watching you guys how to do that was okay too. I picked up nuggets from that. I didn't know how to do it. I knew you could do it, but I never gone through the process of doing it. So I really opened my eyes about the complexity of what some companies do for their employees to get the 401k access. We had to jump through a little bit of hoops to get some extra documents around because I didn't like the ones we had in place. So we did have to put together a purchase and sale agreement, which we typically wouldn't do, just to get it, to allow them to get the money out. So yeah, that was tricky. But once it went through the corporate structure, the actual 401k provider didn't waste any time. It was approved within like an hour. So
it's awesome.
That was kind of cool too to see.
Well, what Nick brought up is interesting for the listener to know. So the high 6, which is, there was just 2 high levels. That's one of them. And they work with all the coaches, me and Nick, and they do have access to Sue. Sue has been working with me and Nick now for, I think it's 10 years. So access to agreements. What do I do if this happens? If Nick and I aren't around administratively, they can lean on that. And that's pretty cool. It's like having another assistant, if you will. Right. So very neat stuff. Okay. Anything I didn't ask you guys that we need to share? Cause I want to say congrats, Dave. Anything else you want to share that we didn't hit you on?
No, I can't really think of it. I'm appreciative of going through the process with Nick and Sue and yourself, and listening to me freak out and helping me get settled down and work through it. And then I'm sure the next one will be a little bit smoother.
Well, let's tell all the listeners now, you're going to be in Boston at QLS, right?
I am planning on it, yes.
Great. So you're listening right now. Go to qlslive.com, get your ticket. If you're in any one of the experience levels, you get a free ticket. If not, go to qlslive.com. Get a chance to spend time with not just Dave, not just Nick, but other people in the community that have worked through some of these struggles. And Dave, no pressure, but we're sitting here in April almost. This will air in April. May, June, July, August, September, October. You got 6 months, so they're going to expect it. How many out of you? How many more deals before that?
Man, to hit my goals for the month, it's going to have to be at least 4 more, I believe. 5 more. 4 more.
No pressure, but I want every single person that comes to the event to walk up to Dave and ask him how he's doing on his goals. Okay, so 4 more deals. All right, Dave, pleasure having you on, buddy. Congrats, and I look forward to many more of these.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick.
Hi, Dave. Thanks, guys.
Okay, wicked smart listeners, that does wrap up our time together today with Mr. David Albin. Now, listen, if you want to hang out with Dave and other people in our community and rub elbows with them, not just listen to them on a podcast, be able to sit down, have coffee with them, have lunch with them, really know inside behind the curtain what makes them tick and what makes us tick, why don't you come join us? We have the Boston event coming up in October. I think it's the 5th and 6th or the 6th and 7th. It's that Monday and Tuesday in October at a facility called Convene. Absolutely amazing facility. And guess what? Your ticket's free also with anything else that we do for an experience level. And if you just want to come check us out, go to qlslive.com. And until next week, make it an outstanding week. It's your choice.
Hey guys, are you simply sick of juggling a dozen different software tools for your real estate business? I know I was, and I know I'm not a tech person, so it was frustrating. A subscription for this, you got a subscription for that, and they don't even work together out of the box. That's very frustrating, especially in the real estate world where your best time spent is going to be out in the field or on the phone with sellers. And now you're stuck hiring a tech guru just to make all that sync up. So let's ditch the chaos and let REI BlackBook handle everything. Automate your lead follow-up, track every deal, analyze things quickly for you, make offers all on one platform. In fact, with the Wicked Smart platform, we now have access, if you're in the Wicked Smart community, to all the other associates' properties. Can you imagine that? So you're brand new in the business perhaps, and your seller looks on your website and sees 20, 30, 40 properties, instant credibility. So you're going to get everything on REI BlackBook, from our custom workflows for lead generation all the way to closing. It has it covered. Try it today for just $1, guys. Visit smartrealestatecoach.com/REIBB-DD. smartrealestatecoach.com/REI, B as in boy, B as in boy, hyphen, D as in dog, D as in dog.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast. If you got value from today's episode, guys, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a future episode. It literally takes one nugget to access some of the things we're doing. And when you're talking the size of the paydays, it's an opportunity cost that you can't let go. So don't miss an episode. And for goodness sake, share it with someone who needs to hear it. If you're ready to find your best path for getting started on your real estate investing journey in general, head over to smartrealestatecoach.com/get started. We're going to help you take the guesswork out of your next steps. See you in the next episode.